Good evening, everybody. I am joined today by the very handsome, the very gentlemanly Mr. Mike Allen-Pugh. How the devil are you, sir?
I am most excellent, thank you, sir. Most excellent.
Fantastic. I like you've gone for the open shirt. There's not a lot of chest hair going on there, I have to admit.
Because of all the food over this isolation period.
Just let everything breathe.
Just let it naturally go.
Right, so we crossed paths, God, it's got a fair few years back now, isn't it? Scarily, it's probably got to be maybe 4 or 5 years, something. Just trying to think.
It was about that.
We haven't had the pleasure of playing that much together, but you came and played at my anniversary bash, which is marvellous. And I did a dep gig with you while a friend of yours and ours was sadly very ill in hospital.
Indeed.
He pulled through, which is absolutely excellent. So,
absolutely.
For people who don't know, you know, those rare few out there who don't know Mr. Mike Allen-Pugh, who are you? What do you do? Where do you come from?
Where do I come from? It feels like blind date, Scylla. Right. Basically, I'm from Wales, right in the middle, the smallest town in Britain, and called Llanwrtyd Wells, which is very nice. You go there, lots of beer. And I've been on the circuit. I've been playing guitar since I was about 18. Prior to that, I played piano and I played trumpet. Many years.
Multi-instrumentalist.
Yes, if I kept them all up, I'd probably be able to pick up the trumpet and still have a go at it. But was the picking up the guitar stuff that it was one of these things. It was that and these started talking to one another, whereas they didn't on the piano at all. I love keyboard people, watching them play, but it's like they do what I couldn't do.
Yeah,
definitely.
So in that case, let's talk about that magic moment where you went from other instruments. I was the same. I played piano probably sort of from the age of 8 up until my teens. And then it was due to discovering bands like Oasis and things that made me pick up the guitar. So what was that epiphany moment for you that made you think, this is what I want to do? This is just pure majesty.
Well, it sort of started in a sort of a nearly falling down just about garage.
Oh, yeah.
And somebody said, tell you what, there's a guy called Tom, and he had a bass guitar in there, and he had a normal guitar. And he said, do you know She Sells Sanctuary? I said, yeah, I love the cult, absolutely. He said, oh, do you want to play it? I went, I don't know how to play anything. So he said, right, pick up the bass. So I started just playing those like few notes really of that and then basically Tom just sat there doing the lead over it. I thought, oh, this is actually quite fun. And then some years went by, and then I was at university, and my girlfriend at the time introduced me to Pink Floyd, and I started listening to Delicate Sound of Thunder, and I remember it really, really well, where the Sid's theme from Shine On You Crazy Diamond came along.
Oh, I went, yeah.
What's that? And I thought, this is really, really good. How do you do this? How do you play it?
Yeah.
So I went to my mum, because my parents were in a semi-professional band for many years actually.
Okay.
And said, do you have that banged up old acoustic that a cheese wire for strings on? And she said, yeah, okay. And she gave it me. And I then started picking it up from there, really. And then my dad said, oh, we find that a bit of a struggle. I said, yep. And I said, what I'd like, I said, is one of them. And that was Dave Gilmour's Red Strat.
Ooh.
So we went down to Leicester, down to the music shop, and he said, right, which one's that one? So I think there was one on the wall, a custom shop one, I think it was, or a normal, it might even been just a normal standard one, for a lot more money. And then he said, well, I can't do that. He said, because you're never going to keep up with this. He said, you're going to give it up in about 6 months anyway. And you can, very encouraging.
Yes, great parenting.
Yeah, lovely. So anyway, I said, in that case, I said, there's a red Squire one up there, which is 150 quid, I think it was. Can I please have that? And I picked it up and I thought, this is just brilliant. So we took it home, went to Hereford, got a little tiny pig nose amp that made more noise, switched on just on its own without a guitar plugged into it.
Picking up Norwegian radio and that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I picked up at the same time a B.B. King VHS tape. And I learned more from that VHS tape than I had from any other thing that I've ever watched.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Because when you first start playing, a lot of lead guitarists will turn up and they'll go, whatever. And that wasn't the case. It was, right, tell you what, let's do... And I, oh, okay then. And I sat there practicing vibrato until the cows came home. And from there on, it was, right, I now get it. And you see a lot of people generally afraid to see, you give them a clean amp and they go, don't like that, where's the distortion pedal? It's really what you can do with that, and you can do so much. So from clean stuff, I then went on to Nile Rodgers, which influenced me a lot. And it was the funk stuff, so I became more interested in the rhythm as well. Yeah. But the solos I really wanted to learn mostly were Shine On, of course, Comfortably Numb, who doesn't, and Run Like Hell. Right. That's what those three songs. That was it. If I could learn those three, then I could be put in a box and everything's good. So
happy man.
That's how it all worked right from the beginning.
So we have Leanne and Kit saying hello. Hello, darlings.
Hello.
So that's one of the great things about B.B. King, isn't it? As a beginner, you've got those just really gentle, melodic, memorable phrases, and just so soulful and so sensitive, and it just teaches you to sort of make a guitar actually talk and sing rather than just trying to sit there and just wank over everything.
Yeah. It's a good example of that is the one thing he said is if you're speaking to somebody, he said you don't shout at them. No. So just give them a piece of information, give them time to think about it. Larry Carlton would says exactly the same thing.
Hello, Steve. Steve Laney's just said hello.
Hello, Steve. So you've got him that will say, right, just take it in little pieces, let your mind just digest it, and then you move on. You tell a story, and I think that's really, really important because I walked out of some concerts in my time. One was Malmsteen, because I think my ears had too many notes, and I loved Malmsteen at the time, but that completely put me off him. And Joe Bonamassa as well, which is great, but I was just so bored with all the notes he was running out of Ipswich region. It was just ridiculous. And I would just rather listen to somebody that has got taste, and you can and just style, and they've got no need to rush it. I don't know, it's just my personal preference anyway. But I'm happy playing Metallica and Queensryche and everything else, but that's generally what I like. Well, that's what I learned to listen to in the early days, and that sort of formed part of my playing. I hope anyway.
Because there is that thing, isn't there, when you've got like these like incredible shredders, but when you're listening to that all the time. I know the human mind has only a certain amount of attention span, doesn't it? So therefore, if you're being hit with just note after note after note after note, you will lose interest after a little while. Yeah, you will. It'll just blend, and it will become less impactful as well, doesn't it? That's the thing. If you've got someone who's playing like there's like certain runs in songs, like you might get somebody doing some really nice sweeping bends, really melodic, and then they'll just pull out a blistering run. And that will just kick you right in the balls and knock you out of your chair. Well, if that blistering one went up and then went on for 5 more minutes, you'd sort of be like, all right. You had me there for about 5 seconds, and now I'm bored.
Definitely, there is a limit. That's for sure.
So, with your when you said you first jamming, she sells Sanctuary and everything. So where did you go from there, getting into an actual band?
I went straight in pretty much out of university. I wasn't in any bands at university. I sort of sat down there and I learned loads and loads of different stuff. But the first band I actually went in was a Dire Straits tribute band.
Really?
Yeah, it was, and that was a learning thing as well, because playing in tributes for anybody that's not that has done it, I understand it, and then or has not done it, and don't know what I'm going to be talking about, is you have to listen to every single nuance that's going on.
Yeah.
So we had a chap doing the Mark Knopfler section, who was stars in their eyes, Mark Knopfler, who ate aspirins for a living, I think. And he was, I mean, seriously, he did. And I was doing the David Knopfler parts. Now, before I'd listened to tracks, I would have listened to all of the, I would predominantly go on, right, I'm Mark Knopfler stuff.
Yeah.
But if you listen to all the other stuff that's going in the background, then you learn a lot more. And then you start learning how to pick out little bits that make the difference.
Yeah.
It was a really, really tough baptism of fire, I think, but it was a really, really good one, a very enjoyable one at the same time.
Because I know actually someone similar to that was talking about, I think it was when I was watching Guitarist talking about, was it the Grateful Dead? What was the lead guitarist who
Jerry Garcia.
Yeah, because everyone, obviously he was the lead guitarist who everyone talked about it, but it was the other guy, wasn't it? The rhythm guy who just played these incredible chords, just so many different inversions. And he was kind of like the underlying unsung hero of the band with just everything that he could do. But that's what gave the Grateful Dead its actual sound, not necessarily just the lead parts. And so I suppose it's very, very similar in that way, isn't it? Same as with AC/DC as well. You've got Angus, and Malcolm. Like Malcolm's parts are actually so integral. You took them out, and it just wouldn't be the same at all.
No, Malcolm. You think yourself, all he literally just sort of sit there and just does the rhythm bits that you can hear. But if you actually if you go into how he plays it, it's actually harder than what you think it is, because you have to adapt to his style. And if you don't get his style right, it doesn't quite match what the Angus sort of thing is doing.
It's similar to the drummer as well. Was it Phil Rudd? Was that the original drummer? Yeah. Look, when you obviously it's all very simplistic and it's playing for the music, but there is that thing that if you try and play it the same and just get a little bit wrong, it just doesn't sound right. That's the thing, is these people just get it exactly for what the music needs. And then you try and over sort of flourish it and sort of try and blow smoke up its arse, and then it just does not work.
No, it doesn't. It takes it away. I mean, Malcolm's very, very rhythmical and it's what seems to be simple, but if you took that out and you tried to replace it with somebody else, I know his nephew, I think he was, actually took over, and I sort of listened to their new tracks, but I think since they got rid of Brian, because I was a huge AC/DC fan, and I've just forgiven them for actually employing Axel, and I was like, don't do this to me. It sounds okay, but not as good as Malcolm. It's just Malcolm's feel that was there, and it really worked together in his brother. But many people don't notice it, but I don't know, people like me, you do.
So we've also got Gordon in. He's got off work early, so he didn't have to miss this. So hello, Gordon. We've got Lauren as well.
Hello.
All hail the mics, Kit says. So plenty of mic to go around. So
certainly at the moment.
Hey, it's just you've got to make do with what you have at home, and sometimes that's food.
I do.
Unless you're like us, who are really struggling, we're going to do a stealth run to Tesco's tonight, hopefully when there's not many people around, to actually try and buy some food.
Oh, God.
Yeah, sad but true. So from your Dire Straits, how far did you get with them? Were you doing a lot of gigs? Was it very popular?
We did all the songs, but we actually never got to gig.
Oh, really? So all that work for out?
Yeah, it was. But I met who actually turned into a really good mate and bass player through that. because we used to sit down there, and this guy the lead guitarist used to have two amps facing each other, like in a sports, which you love. Sports halls are just so good for practicing. And we just sat next to our amps. He kept on telling us to turn it down, and we're going, well, we can't really hear it actually.
Yeah.
And we sort of met from there, and then we started just going, just started from there really. And then I moved up from Wales up to Derby, and music scene was all right up there. It was mostly jams and stuff again, but I started getting into folk stuff a lot more.
Okay.
There's a chap called Dougie McLean, who's from Perthshire, that's doing little sessions in his house at the moment. He's one of Scotland's best songwriters, and I love doing stuff like that. And then his material I could listen to for ages. So I started more doing the folk circuit, popping up there. And then I started going out on my own, just me and a cheap PA setup, really. And did a night for Caffrey's, actually. I think it was. Yeah, I think it was Caffrey's. And it was just for a mate of mine, really, in his pub. And the people came up to me and said, "Would you like a national tour?" And I went, "I can't, because I've got a job." And I thought it was very, very nice. But that was the longest gig of my life, actually. I think I started at 7:30. And I finished at, I think he was about 2:30. So I sat there and sang and played for that long, and basically had people up singing with me.
Yeah.
Basically like a human jukebox type of thing. And it was really, really good fun. So I got 100 quid for it, all the Guinness I could drink that night and the following day, and a meal. So couldn't go wrong with that. And free pool for a week.
Excellent.
So it was a really, really good thing. But I sort of stepped more away. So at home I was doing more of the electric stuff, because I tried to get bands with the right-minded people, and it never sort of worked.
Right.
That's some complete crazy people. Are
you telling me musicians and artistic types are a little bit crazy? Surely not.
Oh yes. Believe what you like. But really, I started more getting down to the band stuff when I moved down to Essex, which was back in 2005, actually. And I started with the Swan in Hatfield Peveril, and then somebody said, "Are you in a band? Do you want to be?" So yeah, okay then. So we started off doing some soul stuff there, and it was purely just by getting noticed on the circuit, that I just got asked to dep for a few people. I used to dep for Kenny, one time a Backstreet Driver.
For those who don't know Kenny, we'll just elaborate. That's Mr. Spanky and the Hip Thrusters, also known as the Whittling Vicar, whatever they call him these days. Kenny's an absolute phenomenal guitarist, and he went viral, didn't he, not that long ago, doing one of his solos.
Viral in a good way, though.
Yes. Yeah, not in a COVID kind of way, as in an actual good, decent way.
Yeah. So we used to do some depth with him, and then I really sort of just got into. It was really word of mouth, just doing function bands and things like that. So I started doing various bands with a chap, a really good bass player called Steve Higginson, in Salisbury Hill, with Andy Lynch on keys, really, really good guy, and a chap called Johnny Salisbury on drums, brilliant drummer. And then just went to the Heaters, and it's like rock stuff, and then somebody want me some soul, or it's just one of these, just dive in and, all right, then give me a set list and I'll learn it and that's it. But I'd spent a while in a professional function band up in Norfolk, actually.
Oh yeah.
And so a lot of the gigs were up there. So there's a lot of travelling, a lot of late nights getting back. So yeah, there's all sorts of different people I've stepped in for over the years.
So
indeed,
with when you said you had to do that sort of 6.5, 7 hour gig or whatever it was, to cover that amount of time, at that point you must have had a ridiculously large repertoire. So
it was a lot of. I just printed out a whole pile of stuff that my parents used to do. What I'd like to do, what the bloke that owned the pub liked to do, what I knew people were singing in pubs.
Yeah.
And I just made this huge folder up of just sort of sitting there, just doing chords and singing, really. And it was good fun. So I occasionally do open mic nights. I sort of started doing them, taking over from Claire Secretan very, very recently anyway. And that was nice getting back into that. So I might consider doing a little bit more once this lockdown decides to lift itself, whenever it is. But yeah, it'd be nice to get back into playing this stuff again anyway, and so see what comes along. Of course, I've got Kit and Leanne.
Of course,
we're doing a gig with. Indeed.
And there's something what you said about having the folder, that sort of holy grail of the gigging musician. I think people these days, they just don't know they're born. Those ones who've got, when you can have everything on an iPad, then back in the day you had the folder, which just was this big, hefty tome, like huge beast of a book where you sit there, do you want to do this? Okay, scroll. Just give us half an hour for me to just get through all these fucking songs until we can find the one we want.
That's the one.
Yeah.
All done in order, but all in sections, in genres and everything else. Yeah, it's not the pre-iPad days, and of course you go to an outdoor festival where it's really, really windy.
Yeah.
Please stop moving. Yeah, so the iPad stuff there, they don't know they're born these days, I tell you, these youngsters.
Well, do you remember a band called Tattered and Torn? Does that name ring a bell?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andy, he's a good friend of mine, the singer from them. He's got a brilliant one. He turns up. He doesn't gig that much anymore, but when he did, he turned up with this little carrying briefcase, and all of his lyrics were just in this briefcase, just complete higgledy-piggledy. So what he'd do, he'd get to the gig, spread them all out on the floor, and then try and make the setup from that as he went.
God help.
He's brilliant. I love that guy. So Mr. T.L. James has said, to me, a good guitarist is similar to a poet. You bring them up, you bring them down, you take them for a ride. Shredding alone does not impress me. It's not playing fast notes, it's how you play the notes.
Yeah.
It's true. There is a place for everything.
It's discussing that, and it is, but then again, you could look at the likes of Simon that plays really with feeling. So Simon can play fast, but he can play pretty much anything. But he plays it with so much feel, and his feel comes across with if you're watching him live, or whether or not you just watch you're watching him on one of your streaming sessions. And I think that's sometimes where people can like play fast and things like that. It's that doesn't come across. You need to somehow get that across to people. And it's I don't know how it happens, whether or not. I don't think it's to do with what amps you're using or modelers or anything else or whatever. Anyway, I think it's almost the reason why you do it, I think. And you can't. It's putting that passion in. Like I was saying about the piano, I could play the piano, yes, but put it against somebody that can really, really play. You can have a passion for it, and you'll get a gaping difference.
Well, that's the.
And it's just these things.
Well, having someone who is really passionate about an instrument, I think you can tell, you can see, you can feel, can't you? Everything that comes across from them when they're playing live to someone who's just just standing there, fucking willy. But there is something special. Oh, what's called spot on, Mike. Plays for everything. I always say Malmsteen would sound awful on the dark side, but Gilmour would sound awful on Rising Force. Context is important. A very valid point, Mr. Gordon.
Absolutely right. And I think one of the other things that Gilmour said, I read an interview with him. He says, "I've only got slow, fat fingers, and I've got to make the most of them." And it's true because he does. But what he does with those slow fat fingers is, or slow-ish, well, actually I'd say it's reasonably fast sometimes. Yeah, is really, really good.
Well, so it's a Tony Iommi as well, obviously a man who lost all the tips of his fingers in an industrial accident. So had to adapt his playing, so using more vibrato, going for a more bending style. I mean, that must be the weirdest thing, playing guitar when you can't feel the strings.
That would be weird.
Yeah.
that must be weird.
So you're just really... no wonder he's concentrating so hard. You'll look at it like, okay, I can see it's there, can't feel it's there though. But it sounds all right. Well, let's just go with that.
That would just be so strange.
Oh, that would be a complete heaven. Apple Tree Cake Design says, hello, Mike V and Mike Husband.
Ah, hello. They're downstairs.
Ah.
That's Mrs. AP.
Hello down there. You all right? Have to actually meet you properly one day. So, we're nearly at the end. Oh, something I wanted to talk to you about before we start doing some little widdly playing bits is you told me you also did some theatre work as well. Or it was a sort of was it a professional, or was that the professional covers band you were talking about?
Yeah, that was the professional function stuff. I was actually asked to do some theatre work by Steve Laney knows him very, very well anyway, is Martin Donald. I couldn't do I just couldn't commit to the time, and I'd just loved to be in the pit doing stuff. I mean, I know Gordon does things like that as well.
Yeah.
And I just love to be able to do it, but I think just the hours and things like that just would have completely thrown out of my sort of day job effectively anyway. But it would have been really, really good fun to do because I've done that. I've been in the pit, but only playing trumpet, things like that on some things very, very early days long ago. But it would have been great fun, to do it. But yeah, that's how that works.
Oh, we'll touch on one more thing before we go into the playing side. So, you did this would be quite actually an interesting topic because I've known this happen to a lot of musicians, and it's been one of those things that's kind of where they start the band, they put everything into it, and then it doesn't work out, and it pretty much kills all enthusiasm because it's just such a knock to the confidence as well as just the sheer enjoyment. So you did a Police tribute band, didn't you?
Yes, I did indeed. Yes, and yeah, that I think is one of these things because I love the Police. Absolutely. I mean, I've probably worn out at Landuston Moor twice on LP, I think. And it was just one of these things where I had the right people coming in, and it was so good. And we spent about probably, I think it was just weekly. Over, I reckon, about 10 to 11 months, constantly ripping these things apart, and it sounded really, really good.
Yeah.
And sort of it overnight, we started doing some gigs. We were getting some really, really good feedback. We got right at the start, we actually got an offer of it's a massive beach party in, I can't remember what country it was. And they said, "Oh, right, we've had a quick look at this, and we absolutely love it. Can you come along and play?" I mean, he said, like thousands and thousands of people just turn up on this beach. It couldn't pay us a lot, but it would have been a great thing to do.
Yeah, sounds amazing.
So we did some pub gigs, we did some headlines and festivals. Absolutely, really, really enjoyed it. And then for reasons I won't go into, it just folded overnight, completely unexpectedly to me. And yeah, that was a right knock. And it is one of these things. I think sometimes bands can end and you just go, that's disappointing. And then you get some that you put so much into and you've got so many hopes for that you put all your time and effort into it, and you just go, all right, okay, they've disappeared off somewhere else now. Okay, this doesn't make any sense. So yeah, it did. And it sort of put me off playing in bands for quite some time, I think.
Yeah, I've noticed it'd been a while since this is one of the reasons when I got in contact and asked you to come and play my anniversary things, because I'd seen you out and about gigging quite a lot in the past, and then all of a sudden you just disappeared, which was an absolute sodding travesty, I have to say.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it did. I lost interest. I think I actually genuinely lost interest in playing. If I can pick up a guitar and I can't feel what I'm playing, there's something seriously wrong. And it sort of just did that. So all I did, quite simply, was to leave it be. Picked it up if I felt like it.
Yeah.
but more importantly, went back to playing the sort of things, or just playing around with the sort of things that I used to. Some time ago, like sometimes with a Floyd tribute and things like that, or Larry Carlton, or something like that. Just something different from covers or anything else. I mean, I didn't listen to the Police, not a single song for I reckon at least 12 months.
Yeah, it was kind of rubbing salt in the wound, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, absolutely. And now I can go back to it, and I love it as much as I used to before.
Oh,
so it's just one of these things. You just got to let it go the way that you want it to go. No point in fighting it. You just it'll sort of sort itself out.
Yeah.
My grandfather used to say, he said, throw some rocks in the pond. He said, no problem trying to sort out the waves. He said, just leave it go and just wait until all the ripples go, and you'll see exactly what you need to do. And it is very, very right. He was a lovely man. Miss him a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So that was a very good segue, talking about going back to the things that you enjoy playing. I see there, Mike, you have a guitar in your hand.
I do.
Good Lord. Is that a coincidence?
I thought it was small. No, it's not. It's not something windy.
Oh, bless. John Starkey's come out and he said, hey, it's both legend on the screen. Hi, Mike and Mike.
Oh, hello, Johnny. Hello, Zygmunt. Looks like I'm off in.
Legend? you might want to raise your bar of legends, son. Lunchtime legends, maybe.
I love Zygmunt. Great guy to play with. Seriously good bassist.
Oh, John Starkey, for those of you who don't know him, I've played with him a couple of times. He plays in The Saviours. He's also always depping with various people. Absolutely phenomenal player. Just so skillful. It's just, again, there's people who are like sort of bass players, and there's real bass players. And you can see that they sort of step up, don't they, into a different category. And I'd say John is one of those. Absolutely.
Yeah. And he's a solid chap as well to boot. So you get both of those, and they're a pleasure to play with.
Yeah. Right. So let's go. So we gave up guitar, then we picked it back up again, fell in love with it once more. What was it? What tunes? What riffs? What lead parts did you play that just take your heart away, or something of that kind of gay nature?
One of the things I started going back to was on the Police line was Sting's solo material. So I tended to go back on the acoustic side of things. So I take my acoustic rather than this and disappear off in the garden or something like that, and basically start off.
Oh, tune.
And of course, another band which I absolutely love as well is Queen.
Oh, good boy.
So it ended up being. So it's just a matter of just going through it, and then the next minute I'd be ripping into this, which I think you recognise from the other day. So I listened to Operation Mindcrime.
Oh, what an album!
Yeah, I love that, and Empire as well. So you'd sort of end up doing what was it? Hang on, let me think. Silent Lucidity. I was trying to actually tell you what I was going in there at the moment and doing was. Which, of course, is The Trees by Rush, another band that I very, very much like. So I grew up listening to that a lot. And of course, one of the reasons why I actually started playing was, where are you? That one there? Yeah.
The Dance of the Pedals.
Oh, yeah. You know, it's that too much reverb and not actually got the right patch on that one.
There's no such thing as too much reverb. What are you talking about? There's never enough.
There might. That's very, very true. Unless you're in a sports hall.
True.
And the another one, which of course, which Matt Speed brought up during his interview as well.
Oh dear.
Is actually the second CD that I bought.
Oh yes.
And that was Passion and Warfare.
Mr. Vai.
So when Matt was doing about the sound check and things like that, we sort of end up doing sometimes the same song.
Mm.
So which is the first one. You know, that sort of thing. You can. I just ended up doing other things, like, for example, a bit of Room 35, Larry Carlton. That's that sort of thing, or even another Back on the Police thing, Murder by Numbers. So it's
nice
because he's very, very jazzy influenced anyway. And then sometimes you just pick up stuff which I know as a little riff I learned from, not directly from, but Albert Lee's one. That's not very good. Steve Lane would be pissing himself laughing at that. That's it. That's more like it. So just little things that were slightly different from playing what you normally do. And of course, you know, the Comfortably Numb solo and what was it? The other one. More like this one. That sort of thing anyway. So just going back and having fun with things that I really, really liked playing weren't in normal sets. So, well, not normal, so you can't really call Comfortably Numb and all. It's not normal sets, definitely not. But so you know, Shine on a Crazy Diamond and things like that, and Learning to Fly. A whole myriad of things basically. And another one which I quite like as well is it's a song called Sarah Smile by Hall & Oates.
Oh, okay.
And it's actually really, really very, very nice. So it's just the solo bit. Played badly, but these nice chords.
Nice.
So it's sort of just nice.
That's baby making music right there.
Songwriters. Yeah, very, very good songwriters.
Definitely, and fantastic moustache as well.
Better than I'll ever grow.
Oh, no, didn't they do? There was. I think this was true. I remember I was watching it's one of those behind the musics about Hall & Oates, and somebody did an animated series about his moustache. I'm sure this is what I saw. Could anyone else back me up on this, or was this just a really weird dream I had? But like his moustache would like fly off and save people and stuff. I'm sure I saw it. If I'm wrong, then fair enough.
Don't you?
It probably is just me.
Look at this now. Oh, good.
It's probably just a weird fantasy of mine. What can I say?
John Oates' moustache.
Oh, you got him and oh God, could you imagine if him and Tom Selleck's moustaches actually got together and became a power duo? I don't think anything. That's too much sexiness.
Virus and everything. I'm going about his pro moustaches.
So you've played us loads of nice, tasteful, smooth, sexy stuff.
Mm.
You're also a little. I've heard you do some shred stuff too.
Yeah. Oh.
What do you reckon?
Depends on what shreddy. I'm not much sort of shreddy sort of stuff these days. Shreddies.
Or other cereals are available.
Yeah, exactly. So everybody knows that. It's why I'm sitting in this chair. So
nice.
yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of little widdly stuff. It's one of these guitar shop moments, isn't it? All guitarists have this. You get in there and you go, right, plays a song, and you go, or so yeah. This trying to think of all any others.
Because you were sort of one of those people who sort of surprised me because sort of the gigs I've seen you do and the things have been very sort of middle of the road covers, maybe sort of disco, that type of stuff. And then you'll just be sitting there doing sound check, and all of a sudden you'll just bust out this thing, and you're like, "Where did that come from?"
Yeah. In fact, I think it was the first step I did for Kenny Petrie. Actually, I'd been playing the Swan of Havel Peveril, which was like a slow. It was like a same song every single time, every single week by the same person. It was that's for many years.
Yeah.
And then somebody came to see me play with Backstreet Driver at over in Braintree, and they went, "Oh, we didn't know you could play other things." And that's the problem, is that until you actually, because we were doing things like the Eagles, we were doing like carrying Carpenter's Goodbye to Love. There was a whole pile of different material they were doing, because Kenny's that does all sorts of things. You could do Duran Duran and whatever else like that, and you can pull it out if you need to play it.
Yeah.
So there's a
Panama.
So it's I love Eddie as well. So Gordon's nodding his head. I know he is at the moment. Yes, of all sorts of Van Halen stuff. Everybody's done the older. All that sort of thing. Anyway, but I tend to sort of go away from the whittle stuff now these days. If unless it's in the song.
Yeah.
Unless it's actually, which actually sounds a stupid thing to say, but which it is. But even if my wife loves me playing the Top Gun theme and things like that, whatever.
Danger Zone or the
there's the Danger Zone most of the Top Gun soundtrack probably, but so it's the Top Gun theme, and then there's Danger Zone. So like Aaron before, I just love 80s stuff.
Yeah.
I'm very happy doing the 80s, that's for sure. But I'm trying to think about other sort of things that I would generally do. But you can sit there and sort of play noodly stuff until the cows come home. But I'm trying to think what I could do for you. But I'm sure I will think of something.
No, that's fine. No, it's just nice to get a nice little look into what a person actually likes to play. Rather than, because I know with a lot of people, when you see especially if they're from a particular band or something like that, and people ask, "Oh, can you play that riff from that song that you play all the time and everything?" But then if you ever watch them backstage warming up, I noticed this with a lot of the sort of people from like Iron Maiden and the guy, I think one of the guys from Whitesnake as well. They love to play sort of bluesy stuff. So you'd hear like Adrian Smith playing kind of Stevie Ray Vaughan and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. That's the stuff they really enjoy. But people only ever get to hear the stuff, obviously, that they're known for. So that's why I like.
That is actually very, 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 very true. I've seen that quite a few times. I mean, even with the, there's an AC/DC tribute band that actually went to see a long, long time ago, and I went backstage, and the guy was sitting there, Ang was sitting there, just playing jazz chords all the time.
Yeah,
and it's sort of funny, and it's just nice seeing, it is nice seeing that sort of stuff anyway. But Stevie Ray's another thing that I was into for some time when I heard "Couldn't Stand the Weather." I was like, what in the earth is this? And I just thought it was just totally amazingly wonderful. And then, of course, there's all this, Pride and Joy stuff and whatever, that very, very standard stuff these days. But God, he could play. God, he really play.
Couldn't he just?
Yes.
So I think we're getting close to coming to the end of this. So I would like to ask you sort of about what are the plans would be improved grammar. What are the plans for Mr. Mike Allen-Pugh now? So you've had your hiatus. You're not allowed to go back and hide anymore. We're all going to make sure of it. So we'll come around and drag you out of your house if we have to. So what have you got on the horizon? What would you like to do?
I think it's one of these things that I'd like to do something which is it's very, very difficult trying to do something that other bands don't do. We did that with Salisbury Hill, and although that was great, I mean, there were some songs that people go, "What's this?" It's like Call Notes, "Kiss on My List," is brilliant, brilliant song, but it's a listenable one. So it's a matter of, do you go into something and go, do you want to do standardy sort of type of stuff really that keep landlords, landladies happy, keep the punters happy, or do you want to do a bit of something? It's that real 50-50 thing of what do you do. If I were to do it, I would just do something which is like funk, rock. I probably wouldn't touch blues that much, what we would call traditional type of blues, because I get bluesed out after a while.
Yeah.
But I mean, same thing as Gordon, loves Whitesnake and things like that, whatever, and like listen to 1984 and things like that for ages and ages. Not 85. What's that one with the Still of the Night and stuff on?
87, isn't it? The Whitesnake, the Whitesnake album. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Similarly with Ozzy, and same as with Aaron, I grew up learning Randy Rhoads stuff.
Yeah.
And there was a band that I used to dep for called Freebird, and they used to do a pile of stuff that I just loved doing.
Yeah.
And they were really, really popular. No longer, sadly, at the moment. But I would like to do something which is a bit of that, but I don't know, something challenging, something that would challenge me.
Yeah. But
something that you and your own band members could take pride in. So not one person pride in, but everybody taking pride in, and then putting something, and then somebody coming towards the end of the gig or whatever, one person a year saying, that was really, really good. That was really tight. That was really enjoyable. Brilliant. And it's that really it's that important, rather than just going, it's just another gig. And I think that's really what I'm personally looking for. Whether or not I'll get that again, I don't know. But I'm sort of pretty not optimistic person. So when it comes down to it, I'd like to be able to find a group of people, or jump into an existing band, or whatever it may be. Whatever will come along will come along.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons why I'm getting back out there again is effectively people knowing who I am again.
Yeah.
And because if you don't go out to the likes of jams and things like that, I'm useless going watching gigs. It's just like having an addict, having something in front of them going, ha ha ha.
Yeah.
it just doesn't work with me.
Do you think there is any musician who, when they go to watch somebody else's gig, does not get that? I mean, I don't get it that much, but I think everyone gets that little tingle of, I want to be up there doing that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I think you can't help it.
If it means that much to you, I don't think you can avoid it. It's whether or not you just want to go. Just give me that to play a song.
Yeah,
one song, I'll be happy, and I'll go back in the audience and I'll start enjoying it again. And I think that would be nice to be able to. It does happen, and it's not a case of the old guitarist and light bulb jokes. How many guitarists take a change light bulb? One to change the light bulb, and 3 can go, I can do it better than that.
Yeah. 3 to sit there and whisper in their mate's ear and kind of go. Yeah.
Anybody that really gets up on a stage with me gets my respect. I don't care if they're brilliant or whether or not they're just first time and they make a complete hash of it. Because to get up on stage and to do something in front of somebody is really hard.
Oh God, yeah.
It's like there are really, really good front people. I'm not a front person. Yeah. I'm a sort of sit back or I'll join you type of thing. I can do the lead stuff. I can do the I do the harmonies and everything else. But as a natural sort of thing, it's not something that I personally feel naturally comfortable with. And there are people that can do this marvelously. A gentleman called Tim Aves, who most people know, who is a very quiet, lovely, really, really nice, intelligent chap. And then when he goes on stage, with Automatic Slim, like that, he's a blinking nutter. And it's just brilliant. And you think to yourself, what? But he could do that. He could put on that persona. He is a showman in that, but comes off and it's just that's not him. And I think it's great for somebody to be able to do that. But I know it's not something that I would do because I know that I feel too self-conscious doing it.
Yeah.
So I would have to be, joining somebody up on there with that other person visibly being the front of, I think anyway. Although I'm happy to, lead things in jams and things like that, but it's not really the same as being a paid gig, as it were. Maybe I do it. I don't know, but naturally I would probably say no. I don't think so. There's plenty of very, very, very good front people out there.
Yeah,
that's your gig. Yeah,
that's what I was. Leanne just says huge respect for that attitude. Kindness is everything. Very, very true. I think we've all been doing this long enough to. I think there's several things that you can really appreciate about a good musician. A, that they're just a decent human being, that they're reliable, and the less ego, the better. I think if you've got those 3 qualities, and they are out there. I mean, God, I know plenty of musicians who I just would not play with just because I had a phone call from someone who's very, very, very well known on the covers music scene. He's been doing it for absolute years. He asked me if I'd come and play bass for him, but I'd heard so many bad stories and his attitude just sucked. And so I made my excuses and not because I would rather pass up something like that because if it was just going to wind me up and mean I have a really shit night, I can live without that.
It would not work. No, it's very, very, very much the case. It's just not worth it. And I think my wife's got this thing of saying, there are their people, and I think it is. And there's some that you can naturally get on with so well. You don't, you can meet them for the first time. And they're just really, really easy to get on with. Some take a bit of work, and then others you just think to yourself, do you know? This just isn't going to work. It's not your fault. It's not my fault. It really is not going to work. You probably end up, for whoever it was, like bands fighting each other. It was like the Police or something like that with Andy Summers looking on going, those two, Copeland and Sting, fighting every 5 minutes. Yeah, that wouldn't be my idea of that. It might have worked for them to be creative geniuses, and that's the way they got through it, by beating shit out of each other. That's great, but no, it wouldn't be my line of way of doing it.
No, it's where you get the bands who, for example, like the main, whether it's the lead singer or the main songwriter, whoever has his own bus, and the rest have to travel separately and all that kind of gubbins, and you're just like, I'm sure the money's good, everyone, but doesn't there just come a point where, well, there's so many of them just again like what happened with you, they just lose the will for it, turns them off so much, because if you end up doing, your music becomes a job, and it becomes a job that you hate, where do you go from there? That you can't, can you get that enjoyment back without just jacking it in and then taking a huge break?
It might come back, it might never come back, and I know it has happened to a few people that I've spoken to over time. And the first thing I've just said to them is just take a break from it if you feel as if it's not for you, or whatever. If you feel as if you're not enjoying something that you really enjoy so much, you just need to. It'll come back, undoubtedly. There's a very good friend of mine that was a professional musician, very, very well known for a long time, and through circumstances he lost his love of music completely for best part of, I reckon, about 10-15 years.
God, that's a long time.
That's a long time, yeah. I mean, a very good reason for it, but he came back, and now he's bigger, better than he's ever been, and such a nice guy as well. It's one of these things. There's seasons for everything, I think, on times anyway, and it's just a matter of when about they start and end. But I'm looking forward to getting back out as soon as this lockdown's over. If I can get out through the door at this rate. So I might have to sort of get the old chainsaw out or something. So I think it'll be nice getting out there, seeing people, and it really does make you appreciate when you're not seeing people out and about. Exactly what you do have on a daily basis. I think it's really hit home a lot over this period, and I can't wait to start getting out there and doing something with somebody again. Good.
Hopefully several of the people who are on this list of chat that's cropping up here. So
absolutely.
So before we call it a night, we've had a Leanne. No, we've already had that one. Gordon said we're all wondering who that is. I think that's in reference to my story about a certain artist in the covers band, but it's probably not who you think, Gordon. If you're going to the natural one that everybody thinks of, it's not him. It's someone else. Lauren says, I make Gordon travel separately to me because he smells. That's fair enough. That's how a relationship gets through those hard years. Kit says, Leanne and I were eternally grateful and privileged to perform with you both at the charity birthday bash. Oh, it was lovely to have you both. Especially as you didn't know us at that time. The talent on the stage that night was off the chart. Everyone was humble and kind. It was just amazing. Loved and shared the stage with you both. Thank you. I have to say, that evening was probably one of the best nights, and this isn't just to sound all kind of wishy-washy, of my night, because it was so lovely to have. The reason the night ran as well as it did is because there was no egos. Everyone just turned up, they played, no attitudes, everyone was lovely. It was absolutely fantastic.
It just ran like clockwork, and it was a pleasure to be part of it. It was like saying so with Leanne and Kit. I mean, I think Kit had seen me playing for the Heaters, I think, at one point. He mentioned the jump solo, I remember that bit. And it was just sort of very, very strange, sort of coming in, oh, hello, right, let's go out now. Not your own gigs and everything else. And it was just nice, natural, and just very pleasant and very, very good fun.
Yeah, definitely. It's just said everybody apart from me will be fatter after the lockdown. That's only because we're struggling to get food. I am trying. I've nearly got through all the chocolate at home and being told off for doing it, so I've got to rein that in a bit.
You're just going to test things more, aren't you?
Yeah, so we're going to see what we can get this evening. Right, so Mike, Absolutely
Hello.
lovely to speak to you. Thanks so much for joining me.
Most welcome.
So take care, everyone. Thanks for tuning in, and we shall see you. So me and Simon are back on Saturday doing our usual silliness. Next week we've got several interviews. Actually, we've got Mr. Gordon. So Gordon is joining me, and also we have Nick Johnson, who was the bass player from Recovered, and also he's done tour work in originals bands, and he's got some interesting things to say about the difference between what it's like touring, what it's like doing covers, and which he prefers, because it's not all it's cracked up to be. So that should be good fun. So again, thank you very much, Mike, and you take